Ash has had a plentiful amount of strong teams in the past, but likely one of his strongest is definitely his XYZ team. Now, I know that Sun and Moon and Journeys is one of his strongest teams, but why am I choosing XYZ specifically? Well, it's simply because it's my favorite series. It's as simple as that. I'm going to be basing this ranking off of two different things, one being the win-to-loss ratio of that specific Pokemon, as well as the feats regarding that Pokemon. Now, I'm going to be putting feats above win-to-loss ratio here, because simply put, if a feat is just that great of a feat, then it doesn't really matter how many losses they have. Granted, if the loss ratio is still too high, I will put him slightly below, but that's how we're going to go off of in this video. Now with the boring stuff out of the way, let's move on to the ranking, shall we? Coming in at number 6 is going to be Ash's Goodra, and this is going to make a lot of people mad, but let me explain. For those of you who are confused, let me explain. Ash's Goodra has one of the highest win rates out of all of Ash's Pokemon in the XY series. I think it's either second place or even first place behind Pikachu. Now you might be asking, why is Goodra so low then? And that's simply because his feats against the Pokemon he's won against are not that impressive, and I'm sorry to say that, but it's really not. Let me first talk about Ash's Goodra's wins. So first and foremost, it won against Tierno's Wartortle and Raichu. It also won against Clement's Luxray, tied with Sawyer's Slurpuff, but lost to Alon's Bisharp. Now let me discuss the problems with this. First and foremost, Tierno is not a Pokemon trainer. Well, technically he is, but he's mostly a dancer throughout the entire series. He's shown time and time again he's inexperienced, and is also not notable to worthy Ash as a rival, or even like, a battling partner. Oh, did I forget to mention that that was a tag team fight alongside Ash's Pikachu, so it wasn't even Goodra doing all the work, and not only that, but Pikachu was blocking all the hits just so Goodra could get a hit in. It was kind of all of Pikachu. And this goes for Clement as well. Clement has even stated that he is not a proper Pokemon trainer and is only like a sparring partner for Ash. Granted, he is a Pokemon gym leader, so he has some experience with battling, unlike Tierno, but even then, he has Clembot doing most of that work, because he's out doing his shenanigans with science projects and his dumb little sister. Even Sawyer's Slurpuff isn't even worth mentioning here. Ash's Goodra gave it a run for its money and vice versa, but even then, Goodra only managed to tie with Sawyer's Slurpuff, and Sawyer's Slurpuff isn't even all that. And don't get me started on the Bisharp guillotine, bro. That was just so sad. Poor Goodra. Now, definitely the biggest flaw with Goodra was that Ash used Goodra as more of a tank than an offensive sweeper. Goodra is a pseudo-legendary for crying out loud, and the best it can do is just tank a bunch of hits and just release Bide and pray you hit and pray it faints. Yeah, that's just not a strategy. He was utilizing it well with Rain Dance and Hydration, but he only did that twice, and it's just really disappointing to see because we could have seen a lot from Goodra, but oh well. Now, coming in at number 5 is going to be Ash's Talonflame, and this one hurts because Ash's Talonflame has had such great battles, but such little success. Now, Talonflame has fought some decently strong opponents, but nothing compared to the other 4 Pokemon. He's fought Avalugg and lost. Granted, he did beat him in the rematch, but still lost. He lost against Abomasnow. He fought 2 legendary birds, which is the only reason I put him above Goodra here, but still lost to both of them in within seconds. Like, the only reason he blocked Moltres' attack was because he was evolving at that time, so it was protecting him as like a shield. He's had no impressive feats other than the legendary bird fights, and even then, he didn't even scratch him basically. Even in the league, he tied with Alonso Unpheasant. That's how disrespectful they did my mans. He tied with Unpheasant of all Pokemon. Now you're probably asking, how does the Pokemon that has fought not 1 but 2 legendary birds and still lose to an Unpheasant? No clue. And on top of having the second to worst win to loss ratio, yeah, no, this Pokemon is staying at 5. Now, number 3 and number 4 are going to be the hardest and possibly the most interchangeable Pokemon in this list. And that is going to be number 4 for Ash's Noivern and number 3 for Ash's Hawlucha. And let me explain. On top of basically overwhelming a Zapdos, Noivern was able to tie with Sawyer's Salamence, a pseudo-legendary and a tough opponent at that. Not only was he matching up with its speed, but it also tanked full frontal assaults with its Dragon Rushes and Dragon Tails. But sadly, that's where Noivern's glory sadly comes to an unfortunate end, because other than those 2 notable fights, he doesn't really have any other fights worth mentioning. He lost to a Matang, which is crazy to me considering the fact he basically beat a Zapdos. The Noivern versus Weavile fight is a little bit more understanding because he got hit pretty hard and Weavile is just too fast for him to detect. But other than that, not really anything worth mentioning. Granted, I still put Noivern above Talonflame purely because of the fact he actually overwhelmed and practically beat a Zapdos, whereas Talonflame, when he fought Zapdos, he got one shot. And that's the end of that. And to add more salt to the wound, this was a Noivern that just recently evolved right at that very moment. So this is a inexperienced Noivern too. So yeah, not really much to say and defend my boy Talonflame. Coming in at number 3 is going to be Hawlucha, like I said earlier, and I know you guys are going to bring up that Zapdos fight because when Hawlucha fought Zapdos, the same Zapdos that Noivern practically beat, he lost in pretty much 10 seconds. But there's a reason why I put Hawlucha above Noivern in this situation. First and foremost, Noivern had a clear advantage in this situation. Remember that Hawlucha can't actually fly, he can only glide with his wings. Whereas in Zapdos' case, he had a clear-cut advantage against Hawlucha. Hawlucha can't even fly, Zapdos realized this disadvantage and used the terrain to his own advantage, and was flying way faster than Hawlucha because, you know, your boy can't fly. And here's the thing people don't understand. Hawlucha was destroying Zapdos at the start of the fight, landing a clear-cut high jump kick to the face, and Zapdos was staggered, while Zapdos was ready to recover and Hawlucha was flexing. This is the problem that Hawlucha faces throughout the entirety of the series. He's more so flexing than he is fighting. After landing that high jump kick on Zapdos, he began flexing and got caught off guard by Zapdos' discharge. And this is not just with the Zapdos fight. Every other fight he's been in that's worth mentioning, he's always at a disadvantage. Against Bearsharp, he was paralyzed. Against Abomasnow, there was hail. Against Avalugg, there was also hail. And against Slacking, okay, that one I'll give it to you. There was no disadvantage there. And even with those disadvantages, he still went blow after blow after blow before finally going down, and still landed hits too on that said Pokemon, so when the other Pokemon comes in, they can finish the job. He was able to fight and beat an Abomasnow where Ash Greninja struggled to beat, and not only that, he was able to do it with that said disadvantage from Hail. Granted, he was fighting a base Abomasnow, it wasn't Mega like Ash Greninja was facing, but even then, it's still impressive. And not only that, he was able to beat Alon's Weavile and managed to beat a Mega Absol. Out of all of those fights, he's definitely more impressive than Noivern here. And not only that, he has a higher win rate than Noivern, so he's staying at number 3 for me. Now here's the moment you've all been waiting for, the strongest Pokemon on Ash's team in the XYZ series. Coming in at number 2 is going to be Pikachu. Now first and foremost, Pikachu has the highest win rate alongside Goodra in the entirety of the team, so that alone puts him that high. But not only that, let me explain the battles, because this is where stuff gets interesting. First things first, the opponents this guy battled were actually powerful. He was able to beat not only Alon's Tyranitar, but Metagross, but also go semi-toe-to-toe with Charizard after dealing with those said Pokemon. I'm not kidding when I say this, Pikachu carried the team on his back against Alon in the league. And don't forget that Pikachu was able to beat Sawyer's Aegislash even with the stance changes and King Shield. And to add icing on the cake, was able to beat Karina's Mega Lucario and even dance a little bit with Diantha's Mega Gardevoir. But to me, in my humble opinion, Ash Greninja is definitely Ash's strongest Pokemon in the XYZ series, and here's why. First things first, not including Goodra's scuffed win rate, Greninja has the second highest win rate on the entire team. Not only that, but went toe-to-toe with Diantha's Mega Gardevoir. Diantha was shook by Greninja's raw power and potential, because Greninja was fighting at a mere fraction of his true potential. Greninja was able to go toe-to-toe with Gardevoir, even overwhelm her, and not only that, he was this close to beating her too if Ash could have controlled the state. And not only that, he beat not 1, not 2, but 3 Megas. He beat Sawyer's Mega Sceptile, he beat Mega Altaria, and also managed to beat Mega Abomasnow in the rematch. Remember that he only lost because Ash was having trouble with his whole inner conflict with Greninja. Not only that, but he did this all effortlessly. Against Altaria, yeah, no diff. Against Sceptile, he got hit a few times here and there, but he managed to beat him without breaking a sweat and also didn't get any scratches or marks on him at the end of the fight. Heck, Greninja and Ash were smiling. Now one thing I can hear you guys out on is Greninja losing to Alon's Charizard not once, not twice, but 3 different times. But let me explain on that. Now first things first, let's disclose the first 2 battles against Alon, because those were completely unfair. This is a Greninja that hasn't mastered the state at all, and not only that, Alon's a trainer who has had months and months, possibly even a year of experience fighting Megas upon Megas upon Megas. And as for the final battle against Alon's Charizard in the league, can you really blame him for losing? We're talking about a trainer and a class in and of itself. This guy has fought against Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre, fought against Champion Steven from Hoenn, and also fought against a Zygarde 50%. And even after Charizard lands all those blows on Greninja, Greninja kept getting back up and landed an equal amount of hits on Charizard. I'm sorry, but it is just too impressive to me that Greninja is fighting a Pokemon who has fought legendaries that no one has even fathomed to fight against. Not Pikachu, not Goodra, not Noivern, not a simple legendary bird. he's fighting against a Pokemon who has fought Rayquaza, Charizard, Steven, and Zygarde. So in conclusion, Greninja is number 1. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and comment down below what is your top 6 and how would you rank them and why. Remember that there's no wrong list, and I'll see you guys in the next video.